Hey everybody, Weston here with the Hidden Gibbon, and today I wanted to talk about a D&D announcement of all things, rather than a Magic announcement, but something that could have implications when it comes to Magic. So the other day we got some big announcements for D&D. For those of you who don't know, Wizards of the Coast also owns Dungeons and Dragons. I actually have a play group where I play every Monday, and have for several years. But they announced collaborations with both World of Warcraft and Star Wars. Yeah, you heard that right. There's universes beyond Dungeons and Dragons now. Now, I know on its surface, this doesn't mean these things are coming to Magic. However, the CEO of Wizards of the Coast said that next year, the properties that we will be getting for Universes Beyond, and there will be 3 of them, are not going to be going to New York, and they're going to be much more fantasy themed. Maybe this means we're taking a year off from Marvel. But there are 2 properties that are most certainly fantasy, Universes Beyond, and would do exceedingly well. Those being World of Warcraft and Star Wars. In fact, Warcraft, I think, would do phenomenally well. I can't remember if there's a TCG for it at all. There may have been in the past. I admittedly am not the biggest Warcraft fan out there. In fact, the last Warcraft game I played was Warcraft 2 on an old 2000 PC. I believe it had Windows 2000 on it. Don't ever get Windows 2000. It was terrible. And then, Star Wars is, I will confidently say, when we do go to Star Wars, because it will happen, because Disney loves money more than they love their own Star Wars TCG, and Hasbro loves money, we will get Star Wars. I can confidently say that Star Wars will be, if they do it only as one set, or if they do it for multiple sets, it will be the largest property to ever come to Magic the Gathering. By far. It will do numbers not yet seen, would be my prediction, right? I think that Final Fantasy and Marvel superheroes would be absolutely blown out of the water by Star Wars. And the thing with Star Wars is, you can have multiple sets. And sets that will appeal to different eras of Star Wars fans, right? You could do the original trilogy, where you have Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie, right? You have Darth Vader, you have the Emperor, you have the Death Star, 1 and 2. You have the Executor. You have all of this old lore, right? Mon Calamari cruisers, Admiral Akbar, etc. That appeals to the hardcore classic Star Wars fans. Then you have the Clone Wars. Star Wars, the Clone Wars, right? You have the movie Attack of the Clones. You have the show, The Clone Wars, both the old animated one that was on Cartoon Network, and then also the newer animated one that introduced us to Ahsoka Tano, one of the most well-written characters in all of Star Wars lore. And an absolutely beloved series. That could be its own set, the Clone Wars era. People my age, millennials, love the old ones, and have a lot of nostalgia for the prequel trilogy and the Clone Wars series as well. Now, back in their time, Star Wars' prequel trilogy was pretty universally reviled. I loved it as a kid. Episode 1, when the droid army is being deployed against the Gungans, and you just see them all like racking out of their transports and stuff. Sweet, right? We could get Darth Maul, etc. And then, of course, there is the new trilogy, which, mixed bag on for people who liked it. I liked some aspects of it. I disliked other aspects of it. But gives you another full set where you have Rey, you have angry old man Luke, you have Kylo Ren, you have Snoke, you have the Mandator 3 class Dreadnought, all sorts of things there, the First Order. And then you can even do the Old Republic. Now, for ye youngins out there, us old folks remember these two phenomenal games, and I do mean absolutely phenomenal. One was done by BioWare, and I believe the second one was done by Obsidian, as all good old RPGs were. And those were Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. And then there's also an MMO called The Old Republic. You can do an entire set on the Old Republic. If they wanted to do 4, hell, they could probably do 5 or 6 if they so chose, right? And the side properties that they could do with this, you know, you have the Mandalorian, where you could do secret layers or commander decks with it. Commander products would obviously go with each of these sets. The vehicle space mechanic is obviously something that works, as we have seen, and stationing is obviously something that we've seen works when it comes to Edge of Eternities. Edge of Eternities, everybody knew it was kind of a test for Star Trek, but I also, even back then, said it was probably a test for both Star Trek and Star Wars. And hell, if we ever get a Warhammer 40k set, probably a test for some of the ships that they have in that as well. Let alone if we get StarCraft. If we're getting World of Warcraft, we very well might get StarCraft as well. These are all options, and all things that are incredibly large in their own right? When I go with my wife to South Korea, StarCraft, there's entire local channels dedicated to just showing StarCraft tournaments all the time. It's really neat. But back to the Star Wars aspect here. It is coming. Anybody who says it's not, I think, is in denial at this point. My friend Dewey absolutely thinks that will never happen. I don't think that he holds, or he used to think that. I don't think that he holds that belief anymore, especially after we see Dungeons and Dragons. Now, does it mean that we're going to get them next year? No. There could be other fantasy stuff that we get, right? We could be getting the Elder Scrolls. We could be getting Game of Thrones. We could be getting any number of other fantasy things. But the fact that Wizards and Hasbro already have partnered with Disney for Marvel and now with Star Wars for D&D, the fact that they have partnered with Microsoft, which owns Activision Blizzard, for World of Warcraft means, honestly, it's only a matter of time. That time being the time it takes to develop a set. And with Star Wars kind of, we'll say suffering a lull when it comes to like its movie properties, a Star Wars set could bring new income and revenue both to Disney and to Hasbro in these rights. Breathe new life into the series. Getting to play with your favorite characters in Magic would be sweet. Not to mention, we would be able to settle the age-old debate of which is stronger, Star Wars or Star Trek, right? But yeah, they're coming. And the Force is absolutely something that can easily be made into a keyword, right? You meet some condition and you get to do some fancy thing, whether it's mind manipulation, Force lightning, etc. Having iconic characters be commanders, such as Palpatine, or Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Kylo Ren, Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn. My personal favorite, Ki-Adi-Mundi. I really like Ki-Adi-Mundi. I know there's a lot of Ki-Adi-Mundi hate out there, but I like Ki-Adi-Mundi. Kit Fisto, Plo Koon, Ahsoka Tano, right? And you have all of these eras. Heck, like the old trilogy can fit Rebels in there, so you have some of the Rebels characters. And all of this is just sitting there. And in, the current era of business, there's no company that's going to leave that much money sitting on the table. It's just not going to happen. So my question is to all of you. If Star Wars comes to Magic the Gathering next year, will you be excited for it? We already have some amazing universes within sets coming, right? Like Noctilus looks really good. Zalfir looks really, really good. I'm not as high on the Kamigawa Kaiju set unless they give me more special Godzilla treatments. Please give me more Godzilla treatments. I love Godzilla so much. But 3 amazing in-universe sets. If we got those combined with, say, Star Wars, Warcraft, and heck, Game of Thrones, 2027 could be, at least from the financial aspect, one of the largest grossing, if not the largest grossing year for Wizards and Hasbro of all time, and could be a year that we see record amounts of surges of new players, because we're both satisfying the people who are not Universes Beyond fans with Zhalfir, which Zhalfir is the set that I am most looking forward to next year, and Noctis and Noctilus and Kamigawa, Titan Breach. But you also will be able to satisfy those Universes Beyond fans who also don't want to go to New York anymore. Star Wars is high fantasy. It is the classic hero's journey. Warcraft, you don't get much more fantasy than Warcraft. If it's Game of Thrones, that slots perfectly into Magic the Gathering. If it's the Elder Scrolls, you have an obscene amount of lore that you can tie into for the Elder Scrolls. You can do an Oblivion set, a Morrowind set, a Skyrim set. Heck, you could even do Hammerfell and Daggerfall if you wanted. Or ESO. All of these properties are sitting here at the table. They're not going to let money go down the drain. They're not going to let that money sit there unspent or unaccumulated, if you will. The scary part is, how much money did they have to pay to get the rights to Star Wars? And then, how much of that cost is going to be passed on to us, the consumers? That's the question. But let me know in the comments down below. Do you think Star Wars is coming next year? Do you think it's coming in the future? Same with Warcraft. If not these two, what fantasy properties do you think they mean for next year? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, I'm Weston with the Hidden Gibbon, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.